¿Qué ondas, primos?
Primas.
Y Primxs.
Welcome to my
Primos.
Primos.
Primo
podcast. My name is Freddie.
My name's Kevin Garcia.
My name is Elia Maria Madrid.
Well, this is Chikume, whenever I can make it.
My Primos podcast discusses all things fandom and pop culture.
From comic books,
Movies?
To whatever obsession we have this week.
But with a Latine
Malatine.
perspective. Remember, we're all primos.
We're all Primxs.
We're all primos.
No matter what part of the world we're from.
¿Qué onda, primos, primas, and welcome to My Primos podcast, the podcast where we're all primos, talking pop culture and more. My name is Elia Maria Madrid, aka Spice to Illustrations, and with me today, the one, the only, Kevin Garcia. Say hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. That was a beautiful intro. I love it. I love it. I love it. Is that your first intro?
Yes.
Oh, man. You are truly a prima now. No, that's not true. You've always been a prima.
We'll adopt you now. We'll adopt
No. You were always part of the family, but now you are one of the heads of the family.
Yay.
Oh, I love it. Oh, man. I'm kind of out of it right now because I'm on teacher burnout. This is the last week of school. I just had my last day with the students.
Right into an event too. So yeah, I imagine it's like
yes. Immediately after we finish recording this, I'm getting ready to leave for Houston, where I'm doing 2 simultaneous events because I'm insane like that. Comic Palooza and Comics for a Cure. So 2 things that going on at once. Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, it's because you're Kevin Garcia. You gotta be everywhere all at once.
Yes, but if I was Elia Maria, I would understand better how to do the streaming stuff because you are the master of streaming.
I'm not. I tried to figure out the audio thing, and I still couldn't figure that. That's still on my list of stream knowledge to learn.
All right. Well, what have you been doing lately? I've been busy with school mostly.
Yeah, I mean, last week was pretty busy for me. I had my charity stream week last week for the JDR. We raised $2,000 altogether. That blew my face off. So now I owe my community a Concha cupcake baking stream. So that'll be coming up in the future.
For those of you listening to this on podcast and not seeing it on video, Elia Maria's face does indeed still exist.
Oh yeah, sorry. It literally did not fly off. I felt it melt off many times.
But you put it back on.
I did. Sewed it back on.
That works out.
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, that's been the main thing. This is my chill week, my recovery week after like going for 5 weeks and
I feel like next week will be my chill week. I'm getting there.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah. After I do these events, then I'm going to be having a little bit of a break, and then I've got some other simultaneous events. So,
yay!
Still been trying to read comics in the middle, though. Web comics. Laura Olympus is a webtoon that I follow. It's getting to be toward the end, so I need to catch up with the last 60, 70 episodes to get there.
Hell yeah!
Marvel's got a R-rated crossover going on, which is interesting. I didn't think they were going to do R-rated comics, after Disney took over, really. But they've got a mature-rated Fury book coming out, but they've also got this one called Blood Hunt, where you can either buy the standard edition or the mature edition.
Ooh!
Since I buy mine digitally, I can't get the mature edition, so
really,
I don't get the extra blood.
Dang. Well, just imagine it there.
Yes, I will imagine when the vampires attack somebody, more blood comes out.
Yeah. I actually downloaded the Webtoon app today and got addicted to my first comic.
Congratulations. I don't know if I should say I'm sorry or one of us.
No, it's going to be, I'm happy because I was actually talking to Ray because we were watching Delicious in Dungeon and before we get into that topic, but how I was like, I wonder how this measures up with the manga. And then I'm like, I should just pick up manga and comics more and take time to read because I really don't have time to read a lot, but I want to but now that I'm like deep into one on Webtoon, I'm like, this is fun. I like reading this. What is the name of it? One Standby. It's actually I think still open.
When you talk about not having time, Webtoon and American comics are a little bit easier for me than manga because manga often comes, at least to the States, we get it in volumes. So it's easier for me to pick up like a couple of pages a week, or in the case of Marvel, 20 some pages a week. And I'm like, that I can do. But like when I have the volume, I feel it's a bit daunting. I'm like, I will get to it.
It's so true. Like I've been flying through this. It's called The Kiss Bet.
Ooh, I love that one. I love that one.
So I started it today on my first lunch break. I'm already on episode 91. Like I'm flying.
That's how Webtoon gets you. And I read that one. It's really adorable.
It's so cute. I'm just like, oh, drama. Let's go. So
one thing that threw me off at the beginning was the ages of the characters, because they're all like seniors in high school, but they're drawn at the beginning like they're little kids, and I was like, what? But by the later episodes, they're drawn like way more like teenagers. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah. No, it's so cute. The art is heckin' adorable, and now it's just opened the door for me losing time and enjoying more comics.
So Webtoon is originally from Korea. So Kisbet is from a Mexican creator. But if you want to see a Korean comic, I recommend one called Your Smile is a Trap, because it is also adorable. It is also adorable, and it is super addictive. I think they're on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but it's so good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and if anyone has any Webtoon recommendations, drop them in the comments for me. Drop them, let me know, because I'm on this train, baby.
Welcome to the fold.
No, I'm telling you, like the fact that this, because I haven't really used Webtoon before, and so seeing it you can use it on the mobile app, it's like, oh no, they make it so accessible and good.
They do. In fact, most of my students who read comics read Webtoon, or some variation like Tapas or something else. Yeah. So it's just kind of the wave of the future. That being said, I've talked to creators. Some love the app, some don't. I think people that did a lot of like joke a day ones, like you had done in the past, weren't as successful unless they got viral somewhere else. But I think the soap opera ones, those do really well. So
yeah, no, I was actually thinking, like, should I re-upload my webcomic? Because right now my webcomic doesn't exist anywhere online. I'm like, should I re-upload it?
You have all the files.
But I have it. I do. So I'm like, should I re-upload it? Because I'm planning on, I actually have like my notebook here where I'm taking notes. I'm actually planning on making another webcomic. And now I'm like, well, Webtoon seems pretty neat.
That's how we know you're a creator, because you always have it with you. One thing I would love, as a creator myself, one thing I would love to do is try to make a vertical story that is intended to be read that way, because like I'm used to, when I write a script for a page, it's designed for a page, turn it to the left-handed page and all that kind of stuff. So it's different when you're scrolling up, right? So all right, we've hinted about enough. I want to get to the main topic. There is a anime that a friend of mine turned me on to a while back, and I'm thankful that I'm not the only one, because a lot of people online have been talking about it, and I know you guys got into it as well. Delicious in Dungeon. Basically, Japan's obsession with Japan's obsession with Dungeons and Dragons, rather, combined with a love of food.
It's such a good combination. My D&D party is actually the one that told me to go watch this. They were like, no, it's so good. And yeah, it's literally that. It's just adventurers surviving with the knowledge of food and the nutrition that they get from it. It's such a fun premise, and it's funny because when we first started the show, I was like, oh, this is silly, this is funny, and then we get to like halfway through what's out now, I'm like, oh
yeah, okay. it does a sharp turn from the goofy, silly joke and episode to everything you love is horrible.
Like, wow.
I was like, okay, cool. I mean, they still have cute moments. They still have cute moments, but I'm like, what the heck? You said that your party turned you onto it. A friend of mine who's big into anime and manga told me about it before the first trailer dropped. Said you're going to want to see this, and what she showed me was that the mangaka Ryoko Kui put a big effort into giving the different characters different body types.
Yes.
Like I've enjoyed One Piece. Obviously, I know I've heard you enjoy One Piece a little bit. A little bit. But as great as the writer is, and as great as his character designs are, a lot of especially women, have identical body types, right? Unless it's part of the joke. And in Delicious in Dungeon, there are people that are short, people that are tall, and not just Hobbit short. I mean, just like different heights, and different weights and body shapes and stuff like that. And it's not not part of the joke. It isn't even acknowledged. One thing I thought was interesting is the one second. What was the name of the they don't call them dwarves and hobbits. I can't remember what they call them. I know the half foot and the tall man. But
Oh yeah, half foot. Yeah.
Yeah, they had their former member, and their former member, she came into the show a couple episodes, kind of guest starring, the one who'd quit before the series started, and I thought it was. I'm used to hearing certain voices from character actors, and I know that the English voices are trying to get as close as possible to the originals. And I thought it was supposed to be a male character, and I was kind of curious about that because she had a deeper voice. Yeah. And in anime, like all the female characters just have high pitched voices, and it's just so I really appreciated that kind of a contrast that people can be different. And I was like, that's what sold me on the show. And then I started watching it, and I hate to use the expression food porn, but like this is cooking porn. This is like
elegant.
It is.
It's elegantly presented. Yeah. Are you real quick? Are you watching it in English or Japanese?
I am watching it in English, although now that I think about it, I kind of regret it. The reason I watch a lot of shows dubbed is because I want to focus on the animation, especially when it's a high action show. And while there is action in this series, there's enough downtime that I think I probably should have been watching it subtitled. Now I watch it with subtitles, but I probably should have watched it with the original voice actors.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I'm either or. It depends on like what I have going on. If I'm doing like usually I'm doing like sketch work, storyboards for a project, I got to keep the dub on because I don't know Japanese. But if I actually have the moment you sit and focus, I'll usually watch my anime in Japanese. But I really don't mind either or. I don't know what the Japanese cast sounds like because I haven't watched it in Japanese yet. But I'm actually very proud of like what the English cast has brought to
really?
it. So,
me too. Namari, that's the character I was thinking of. Namari. It's funny. I've been watching
every episode.
And it's hard for me to keep track of the character names. There's nothing wrong with the names. It's just I got so much other stuff going on, and it comes out. By the way, I appreciate that Netflix is releasing it once a week. I know that it's kind of a necessity because they're getting it from Japan and they're having the voice actors come in and all that kind of stuff. But it's so much better to be able to watch something and then go online and see what the discourse is. Then I enjoyed Fallout, but it all came out at once, and I still haven't watched it all yet. So.
And I feel like the hype went away really quickly for Fallout because
it happened so fast. Yeah, you can't have that water cooler talk.
Yeah, as someone who's a binge watcher, with the new stuff, I appreciate the slow releases. I'm like, it's fine. I actually got to binge a little bit of this because I didn't have time to completely watch it in once. But I was able to catch up, and now I'm caught up with the excitement of everyone's releasing it. I haven't seen today's episode yet though, but I'm excited to see what people have to say once I do get to watch it. I do enjoy that. And I feel like the fandom has anime watchers in general have been very well receptive to this title. Like I've seen so much positive. I've already seen tons of fan art. So I'm really excited.
You know what? When you talk about fandom and people being receptive to the title, I want to say something. Like I'm not a big anime and manga guy, right? There's one manga series that I own every single volume of, and I will get the next one out as soon as it's announced, and that's Yotsuba. From the creator of Azumanga Daioh. But for anime, I didn't watch it for the longest time, and it wasn't till quarantine where I watched more anime during quarantine than I had my entire life up to that point. Nice. And I finally got into it. But that being said, it's hard for me to introduce a lot of anime to somebody who has not exposed themselves to a lot of it, because a lot of times, like I was trying to show, my partner a series that I really enjoyed. And when it was like her first anime, there's a lot of like sexual fan service and stuff and things like that. Like just, I didn't even realize was there because I'd already been exposed to a lot of anime by that point. And now that she's watched One Piece and everything, we went back and tried to watch it, and she enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So, so it's like there were baby steps. And so far in this series, there's not been a lot of that. At least nothing gratuitous, nothing that didn't make some kind of a sense at the time. And I appreciate that because, like, I got into one. What was it? Jobless Reincarnation, and it's about a 40-year-old guy that dies in doing nothing jobs in Tokyo. Gets reincarnated into another world, but he has his 100% memory and everything as a baby. And so by the time he's 4, he's already like learning magic and stuff in this other world because he's got an adult mind. And it sounded pretty cool at first. And the animation is beautiful. And I was really getting into it. And then I realized this is a show about a 40-year-old in a child's body hitting on children. Oh, man.
There are lots worse anime. Don't worry.
Oh, there are. Believe me, I know. But I was like, man, I had the hopes for this one.
Yeah.
I was even telling people how, like, in the first couple times that he made a pass at somebody, they quickly rebuffed him. And I was like, cool. So they were like making fun of that trope of people doing that. And then later on, they were like, ooh, I don't actually like you, blush. And I'm like, oh, damn it. You know, I was like, man, I was getting into this.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well.
And then, but with this one, I don't get the impression it's going to go that way, and I'm enjoying it. There's still like bits and pieces, but it's nothing that seems unnecessary to the plot. Like, it works.
Yeah, and like you said, fan service. Like, I feel like there's moments in this show, but it's never like the focus of what's going on. Like, this show's
except for one scene. There's one scene.
Yeah. But
it's spoilers, but there's a chicken dragon with boobs, and suddenly everybody sees the boobs at once. And I'm like, why did everybody look at the boobs at once?
I mean, they were even I did, respectfully.
Yes, but the characters like blushed or eye popped at the same time.
I
was
know.
like, this was a dramatic scene.
Yeah, I know. It really caught me off guard. I was like, right now, okay. but even so,
it worked for the characters who did it, though.
Yeah.
There were characters who cared about the person involved, so it made sense that they would be the ones reacting. But still, it's so
I know. Sad. It's like, okay. It's like we're all trying to get through a dramatic moment, but everyone take a moment. Objectify. Okay, all right. No, yeah. But like, I don't know. It's one of these things where, I mean, we're still learning a lot about the characters where we are in the show right now. Like, I feel like I barely know anything about Chilchuck right now. The halfling, whatever race that they're half foot. Yeah. And like we're getting very small touches of each of the characters, and I love that because we're like on episode 20, 21? And
yeah, 2021, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and like Ray and I were thinking, like, how long do we think the season's gonna be? Because I haven't looked up to see.
Yeah,
like,
I totally thought. Yeah, and by the way, spoilers for the show, at real quick, because I feel like we kind of have to talk about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. The beginning of the series sets up with them looking for one of the main characters' sister, who died, which to me was kind of weird because I was like, they don't seem to be in a big rush to bring her back to life. They're really taking their sweet time. But they do explain that, in this dungeon, you can be dead for a long time and your spirit's still there. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, but okay. But yeah. But anyway, so they find, and I thought once they found her, that was going to be the end of the season. And I was like, cool, I guess I'll have to wait a few months to get back. But nope, kept going.
No.
I was like, okay.
It sure did. Yeah. And it did not go where I was anticipating. That's another. I was like, oh, they found her. Okay, all is well, right? Right.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, even if all wasn't well, I was like, okay, end on a cliffhanger, and then blah blah. No, but no. By the way, I'm looking it up. The manga ran from 2014 to 2023, and since the cartoon started this year, that means it's not like One Piece where it's going to go on forever. We have an actual ending. Which, by the way, I think that's fascinating. I think that as an American comics reader, I'm used to the idea that most comics are intended to just keep going, right? Yeah. Walking Dead ended when Robert Kirkman was done with it, and with Invincible, he intended to have an ending at one point. But like Spawn just keeps going, Spider-Man keeps going, and so on. Mm-hmm. And for Japanese manga, there's a plan often going in or developed throughout the course that's like, we will have an ending, and it's kind of neat that this will have that. So.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm definitely wanting to pick up the manga now after having watched the show. I'm like, I want to see what the similarities are. I just want to see like the art and everything. Because I'm in love with the story right now. As a Dungeons and Dragons player, like I notice like when things like, oh, that's dancing lights. Oh, they're using this kind of item.
Okay, dancing lights, is that where when they have her little flashlight thing going on every time?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I don't play Dungeons and Dragons a lot.
No, it's all good. Yeah, no, but they do really great references They make really great references to the game and like the mechanics of it. We were trying to guess like, okay, so she's a wizard, he's a rogue. what does he do? We're thinking Senchi's a barbarian. I don't know yet. No, it's just really cool seeing how it all plays out in the thought process of mechanics. Because like when I think of a dungeon, I don't think of it as intricate as this one has been. This one's literally like a fun house.
If this is what dungeons are like in Dungeons and Dragons, I would never leave the dungeon.
Yeah, I would die 10 times, and
I was just like, I'm gonna keep going. No, one thing I think is really fascinating is how much Japan latched on to the concept of Dungeons and Dragons way more than the US did.
Yes.
Like Dungeons and Dragons in the US started because literally somebody was making a fan game out of Lord of the Rings, to the point that the Tolkien estate had to send them a cease and desist at the beginning, and they had to change the names of things.
Love that.
Turns out Halfling was not trademarked, so they were good there. But the thing is that but when it came to Japan, there was a video game in the 80s apparently that just really took off, and after that it became an entire genre where there's like, there's all these isekai where the characters, died, reincarnated into Dungeons and Dragons. And it's often a video game version of it, like Dragon Quest or something. But they have all of these characters that began as D&D concepts. Like the slime was the gelatinous cube, which just became the little cute thing thanks to Toriyama from Dragon Ball. And the kobolds, which are adorable dog people in this game, in this cartoon rather. Apparently, I was reading this thing that said that when the kobolds first came into Dungeons and Dragons, they were described as having a dog-like voice, and when they took it over to Japan, they just ran with the dog-like part. So, like, if you play kobolds in the U.S., they look like little dragon characters or something.
Yeah.
But in Japan, like all of the different cartoons I've seen, they're dog-ish.
I love that. No, what I also love, and I made that comparison too. I'm like, in the U.S., like, the D&D titles we have, like we had the D&D movie, but that was just like a D&D game. And low-key,
you're talking about the Wayans one, right?
The one with
I'm kidding.
Chris Pine.
The one with Chris Pine. I know.
I don't know. But like it wasn't my favorite. I'm not gonna lie.
I enjoyed it.
That's good. No, that's good. I'm glad people did enjoy it. It wasn't my favorite personally, but it was like, oh, we're playing a D&D game and turning it into a movie. Whereas like, and that's what a lot of the big titles that are big names out there, it's like, we're playing a D&D game here. This, I don't feel like I'm watching a D&D game. I feel like I'm watching adventurers within a game.
I feel like, I want to make a really weird comparison real quick.
Yeah.
This is to D&D knockoffs what Watchmen was to superheroes.
Yeah.
And to explain, because obviously they're nothing alike. While there are definitely dark moments in this, it's not as dark as Watchmen. But the idea is that Watchmen and Miracle Man, Marvel Man before that were deconstructions of what it meant to be a superhero. What is this concept that we've just accepted as part of American culture, and what does it really mean? And this is 100% a deconstruction of this D&D concept. Like, okay, if this is really how a world works, how would it actually work? And I think the other one that kind of makes me feel this way is Reincarnated as a Slime, where, okay, all these characters can fight, they level up and stuff, but how does the society work? And I'm like, okay, now you got me interested. Now I'm like, that one looked at a society, and I stopped watching it when they started getting into power battles. I didn't care for that. I wanted to see them like develop a tax system or something. And this one is all about the food and the biology of it. And I'm like, oh wow, this is it makes it feel real while being silly. And oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, no, I thought that thinking of when you're like, okay, I want to tell a story about D&D, but not have it be the focus. Food is and survival is so perfect. Just survival on itself is a good concept, but the fact that
food
so much
being
thought,
essential to survival.
Yes, and why it like helps you get strong. Why you need certain nutrients to fight such and such. What will heal you? That's all. Like, so much thought was put into not just having the creature exist in the world, but how they're going to tie it into benefiting the team should they defeat said object. Or if they like that room where they were in all the water, it's like, how can we make everyone realize that they need to like work together? How do they need to know how these spells work? How to in order to navigate this dungeon fun house? And
by the
surviving it.
way, when you talk about food and survival, I love that characters will meet Senshi once, be a little bit incredulous, and then literally the next time they have a conversation with anyone, it'll be like, "But food is essential to survival." And I'm like,
yeah,
you had one conversation with that guy.
Yeah.
And he completely changed your life.
He changes people with the power of his cuisine. Yeah, no, I think it's really, really fun that I'm like, I want the cookbook, I want the guide, I want the monster guide, not just for like their D&D benefits. Now I want to know the nutritional stuff. I want all the I just want to see what the book looks like for notes of creating this.
Even the D&D elements sound exciting to me because like fighting a haunted armor, cool. Finding out haunted armor is a colony of mollusks, that's way more interesting to me.
That's man.
If I was playing a game and the dungeon master revealed that as I was playing, I'm like, I want to know more.
Right? Yeah, because and that's an episode that was early on and already blew my mind because I was like, what's going on? What is the what wow? And then I was like, oh, it's one of those moments where it's like you know such and such items exist, but you never think of them being like working in the way that they do in order to
biological way.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're explaining away magic, because there's obviously still magic, but like every creature has a creature element. Like dryads, they look like naked women running around, but it's actually a carnivorous plant trying to attract prey, which I'm like, that's something plants do in the real world. They will look like a female insect or something to attract other insects and then eat them, you know? And I'm like, that's kind of interesting. It's weird, but it's interesting and it works.
Yeah. No, it's, oh God. I can't like get over how like big brain, the element of just nutrition hand in hand with monsters came so well in this work. And
the fact that it pushes the story forward. I heard a definition of like sci-fi being that like where science isn't just present in the story, but it like pushes the story forward. It literally the biology push is this sci-fi or is this fantasy? This is amazing.
Yeah, that very true. Yeah, and then you get like what other thing I really liked the reference to was how they reference magic and how it has no alignment.
Yes,
and like there's no alignment to magic, and it's like, and it's also I feel. I can't wait until we go behind the scenes because for spoilers, I'm pretty sure this is just going to be a spoiler-filled episode. So hang on, y'all.
We've already touched on like the biggest spoiler of the first like 10 episodes. So now we're kind of like...
So big. I'm about to drop big. But the episode with the reincarnation.
Yes,
I immediately as soon as she was drawing those lines, I'm like, I can see why. I can see why it's considered bad, but I'm also very curious as to what Marcel's journey is going to be like in order to prove that said dark magic can be used for good. Because right now there's like big powers controlling this dungeon and keeping an eye on it, and they don't want this for some reason existing in said environment.
You know what struck me about that revelation, because I don't think up to that point they really talked a lot about dark magic and the idea that dark magic. I mentioned a second ago that I like the idea of how societies work and the idea that there's something banned, not just banned because we say so, but because there's a reason and this and this and this. But is that reason actually a valid reason is a big question.
Yeah.
It made me think of indigenous communities being like targeted by various governments saying, no, this is either, depending on the time period, witchcraft all the way to just backwards thinking. And it's like, and she's like, no, there's more here that our ancestors used. And I'm hoping that was intentional, but that was my takeaway on that. It really felt to me like acknowledging this kind of a past that the majority society doesn't want people to look at. And
very true.
Yeah. And part probably because it gives power to people that would not have the power as easily. We talk about you talk about the elves showing up. The elves, from what I understand, are just inherently powerful. And the idea that people would be able to develop power to be on their level, that'd probably be pretty scary to the people in power, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because like there's a lot of elves that are in charge of said dungeon or have that like
they mentioned that several times, like in the background. They're like, the elves that do this and that do that. And I'm like,
Yeah, and yet everyone has negative perception on elves that we've met in the dungeon, like, immediately. Unless they know an elf themselves, everyone seems to be like, "Oh, the elf. Oh, the elf."
Well,
And it's like, yeah.
For the most part, it seemed to be like downtrodden people had negative perceptions of elves, whereas
And it
upper
makes
class
me wonder
people
why, though.
didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah, it's like, why? Why? Where did this come from? Does this have to do with the dark magic? Does this have to do with the dungeon politics or whatever's going on? Could it have to do with the what the head of the dungeon, the dungeon king or prince
the dungeon
or whatever? I don't know his official title.
Well,
but
there's the Mad Mage. They keep talking about the Mad Mage.
That one. But I don't believe he's actually in charge of it.
No, it doesn't seem like it. Not at all.
No.
And not only that, but like I think they keep mentioning several times that if somebody defeats them, they become the king. And I'm like,
yeah.
As much as like, I mean, again, I don't play D&D a lot. I don't think that's ever been a thing in D&D.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it could be a plot.
It could be a plot, but I also believe that the mage is being controlled or told what to do by said higher power. Yeah.
I believe it as well. Which, by the way, I love that we had an episode where they're just playing around in magic paintings, and that was like, by the way, this is going to be really important 20 episodes later, and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I really wanted to go back and rewatch that episode now, because now I'm like, of course that was going to be more important later down the road. I should have taken notes. But now it's just like, no, every single element that is being presented in this dungeon is important. And I just got to remember, like, later down the line when this pops up again, this is why it's important. And like, I mean, and I feel like certain things, and it hasn't faltered us in the story or in the cuisine part of the show. Like, there's different parts of cuisine that we save and we have it for later for a reason. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. And by the way, that for a reason part, I kind of want to touch on that because a big theme throughout this show is trying new things and understanding why things are done the way they are. And initially it's just try to eat monsters. Ew, it's gross. But then we get this character, Izusumi, the cat girl, right? You've seen her already, right? Mm-hmm. And her big thing is like, I don't eat anything that I don't want to, which I know people like that. And it's interesting because it's not just you're wrong, but it's like, here's what you're missing out on. Mm-hmm. And it's really, it's fascinating because again, it's about not just, there's so many levels to this. I'm really enjoying the heck out of it. Like, it's not just here's how things work, but it's also here's why in the real world we do things the way we do. There's a discussion with her about how to use eating utensils correctly. And Senshi says, and he talks about like in a stabbing motion with a knife and a bad guy, it's amazing how when you use a tool correctly, you get more use out of it. And I was like, wow, that is such an interesting.
Senshi is the ultimate, like, I feel like Senshi is the leader of the group.
I have a question. Is Senshi a sex symbol?
Yes.
Because I
From
feel
what
like
I've seen online.
I feel like he's very sexy.
Oh, absolutely. He's got my favorite body type.
I was trying to tell somebody earlier today actually that he has what could probably be described as a female gaze sexy body as opposed to a male gaze sexy body. Yeah. And the person I was talking to is like, well, isn't male gaze supposed to be about the women anyway? I'm like, well, yes, but if you look at comic books from the 1990s, all of these overly muscular men, that is what straight men think women would like, you know? Yeah. And I feel like Senshi, and again, there's no one type that every woman likes, of course, or man or whatever likes, right? Obviously. But I feel like Senshi is that female gaze, that is sexy for a different reason, not just look at this muscular guy as he flexes, you know?
Yeah. He respects women and cooks for them. That's all we can ask for. No,
especially that.
I love Senshi so much. And the English voice actor is actually a voice actor / streamer that I follow.
Really?
Yeah, ProZD. He's really cool. I've the
Does
guy
he have
who
a beard?
edits his videos. No, he actually he looks like nothing like his character.
Well, you don't have to look at the character, but I feel like he needs a beard.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he could grow one out. I'm not sure, But no, he's got such a good vocal range. And when I found out he voiced Senshi, I was like, oh my God, like, I had no idea. And so I thought that was really cool. And he's such a fun character. Right now, Senshi is my favorite character of the show. I just, so far, proven he has knowledge in his cooking. I've seen him like try to use knowledge towards combat with the pan and everything. Sure, it gets hot. We don't think about that for a little bit, but
it's got handles overall, for a reason.
Yeah,
you talk about favorite character. I have at least favorite character. At least I did up until the resurrection, and that was Laios.
Okay.
Laios, yeah, because like he's ostensibly the main character, but he's like, we need to do this, save my sister. Ooh, look at that. And admittedly, he's very autistic coded, which I think is cool. That he's definitely that. And I feel like that's intentional. But at the same time, it was really hard to sympathize with him when he says in one breath, we need to do everything we can to save my sister and not give up. And in the next breath, oh, she'll be fine. We can take a detour that takes us 3 extra weeks, and I'm like, that doesn't feel right. But post resurrection, that hasn't happened anymore. So,
yeah, he does have a himbo energy about him, where he's not really the best thinker.
I can respect that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's why I liked him. I was like, okay, you can hang. Like, you got the himbo. You're not the brightest crayon in the box, but you're gonna swing that sword, baby. But my least favorite character, and hasn't really grown on me yet. So I'm sorry if anyone loves him. Chill Chuck. I can't. I'm like, all he does is complain. And I get it. There's like the past party drama that we still haven't like delved completely into. True. Right now, I'm like, all you're doing is complaining and critiquing, and you're not helping. You're a rogue that's not really doing a lot, and I'm getting pissed off at you. But the reason I'm like so far is because at the beginning I hated Marcel. I was like, all you're doing is complaining. Just eat the damn food. And now I'm like, okay, she's got it. So I'm giving Chill Chuck time to. She was
hiding something that once that came out, she was much more interesting. I actually like Chill Chuck because of his complaints. I like it because he's not like trying to cover it up or anything. He's like, look, I am not a fighter. I was not hired to fight. We think about like Frodo in the Bilbo in the Hobbit, where he was hired to be a thief, and yet he does a lot of fighting. And this guy's like, no, I am literally the thief. That is who I am and what I do. And then I can respect that. And even though he complains, he does in a way where he's like, but I'm going to make sure my friends get out okay. So I'm like, I actually really like him because he's so grating. I don't like him being annoying, but I like that it feels very earnest that he's like, look, whereas Laios kind of bothered me in the sense that he didn't seem to care about his sister most of the time.
Yeah.
Chill Chuck always cares about everyone else. He just does it in a way that makes sense for him.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, I get it. It's not my favorite method of approaching the situation, but considering the party that he's with, it makes a lot of sense as to why his behavior is the way. Yeah. Like, you got the himbo, you've got the scaredy cat of food, you've got Senshi who's just chefing.
I appreciate that just about every other party that meets them says, what a horrible party combination. And I'm like, I like that, but I also appreciate that most of the other parties we've seen clearly only work for profit. And it's like, well, yeah, Chill Chuck could easily leave and make more money elsewhere, but he stays because he worries about their safety. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that a guy that literally cannot fight is constantly worried about the safety of others. So it's like, he's not going to put himself in the way to protect you, but he's going to find a way to make sure you get out of there.
Yeah.
And so I like that contrast because I feel like when you're playing a game with your players, right, I would assume you want them to work together at some point where they bond. Yeah. And to me, that's exactly what these guys do. And seeing the alternative is much less pleasant.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I did notice that even when meeting the other parties, because there's Shuro, the kind of samurai inspired character. Everyone was afraid of him. And even when they were afraid of him or wanted to make out with him or a combination of both.
Make out with him in fear.
Yeah. and it's kind of like they got along outside of Shuro, but even the head wasn't like getting along with them, whereas everyone in the main party, they all got along, they all communicated, they all had that mutual respect.
They understand each other's weaknesses and strengths, and I think it's really important.
Exactly. That's just important in a party in general. And I feel like a lot of these other, like oh god, who is it? The kid Kabru.
Yeah. The kid that has complicated feelings about Laios.
Yeah, I like, you can tell that they don't have that bond yet. Like they're getting there, but they really need that understanding of strengths and weakness. I mean, he's died like what, 5 times now?
Yes. And that kid's like, I am here to kill Laios. And then he's like, but he's like, interesting.
Wait. Yeah. So it's like, oh, what do you want, baby girl? Like, yeah. So and that's just an important thing about adventuring parties in general, is knowing the strengths, knowing the weaknesses, and having that mutual respect. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough time in the dungeon. We're all going to die. So yeah, and so I can't wait to see the maturity of those other 2 parties. I want to believe we're going to see them again, and they're going to come in very useful. As well as the possibility of other parties that we meet. I mean, have you seen today's episode?
Yes, I saw today's episode. We do get a glimpse of the elves. Yeah. I honestly have been a little bit surprised by that, because I didn't know coming in that we were going to see so many other parties. I guess I'm used to the idea, like the Honor Among Thieves movie. I enjoyed it a lot, but it's very clearly we're following a player party as they do stuff. Well, this is almost like you're following the player party, but here's another player party, and here's another player party, here's another player party. And that's interesting to me, seeing the different dynamics and seeing them interact with the main party. I think that's actually really cool. So many times in a lot of anime, there'll be characters that are like, look at this cool design, they're going to be important later. But in this one, like the entire party is cool. You know, like Shuro's whole party, like I would follow a whole series about them. You know, the elves, are all look distinct. It's interesting that each of these or the 2 the gnomes or whatever they are that pay people to be in their party. I find that.
Oh yeah. No, that party. I totally forgot about that party. I just think it's really
Namari's
cool.
Unpleasant party.
Yeah. Oh,
they're just like, you're here to soak damage. That's the reason we hired you.
I was like, okay, work. Y'all working together. No, I think it's really cool how they've introduced the dynamics of different parties to this show as well. We're not just following one and that's the it all be all. We're actually seeing the interaction of different strength dynamics, different background dynamics, different cultural dynamics. And I love that. I love seeing all the different types of cultures. Like I'm sure we haven't even hit on like 10% of what is available in this world, but seeing the representation between each different race, each different background, each different like class.
You talk about culture. It's fascinating to me when I watch things like My Hero Academia or One Punch Man. Both of them feel like American comics seen through the lens of a Japanese creator. And then this one is Western fantasy. And when they bring in Japanese inspired characters, everybody's like, you're so fascinating. What a weird culture you come from. And I'm like, but this is made in Japan. And I find that very fascinating.
No, it's really cool. And I'm honestly so glad to hear about like adventuring party stories being prominent in other parts of the world. Because I don't know, I feel like I haven't gotten a taste of something like this D&D coded as
you need
good
to play
anywhere
JRPGs.
Else. I should. Yeah.
No, I mean that's what caused it to take off so much. Like I'm sure I'm not sure. I wonder if paper and pencil Dungeons and Dragons exists in Japan in any prominent way, but like the themes and gameplay of it lived on through video games in a major way in Japan, to the point that even games that are like very far divorced visually from Dungeons and Dragons still have a lot of the elements. So
No, I'm excited. What are some things that you want to see in the upcoming episodes? Is there any burning questions?
I mean, honestly, I just want to see more creatures. Constantly want to see more creatures. It's funny when I mentioned reincarnation into a slime. That one I got less interested when they started getting more into the lore of like, well, here's the major powers that you're going to need to defeat later. I'm like, I just wanted to see him build a society. And this one, I'm here for the food, but I'm actually staying for the lore as well. Like I'm actually really getting into it, and I love the idea of a prophecy that some people want to make happen. And like the one guy that everybody seems to think is the one for the prophecy does not care about it at all because he just thinks monsters look cool.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, can I point out that I was a little bit confused at first with the cat girl when everybody got undressed in the steam cave and everybody covered up Laos's eyes, and I was like, oh, because she's part monster and he's gonna not be able to stop looking at her. That's actually hilarious. that is honestly hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, it can't be for like her modesty. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's a very, sexually aggressive guy at all. No, it's because he's fascinated by monsters and she's part monster. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was cracking up at that. I was like, okay, that's, and they kept it going the entire episode. And I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
No, it's those little details that you don't have to think about, but they're there. And that's how I know there's so much good attention put into this storytelling for sure. I for sure want a cookbook. I want a cookbook, but in terms of story,
I want to play a game where these are the rules for the monsters. You know what I mean? Like, I want to play a game where it's like, it doesn't have to come up, but it's there. And if you want to get the mollusks out of the armor, you can do that.
Yeah, just a foraging. Like it's like, it's an adventure game, but you can also forage for survival and you can get bonus points, bonus.
But there's like a command animal or something, right? You get that power to like tell animals what to do.
Yes.
Okay, so imagine you knew that there were mollusks in the armor.
Yeah, I guess if anyone in the party
there's
had
so much
that.
more you could go with that. Like it's such a simple power, and you're like, command simple animals. Those are simple animals.
Yeah,
you could literally have this suit of armor that just goes with you.
Maybe since Marcel's a wizard, she could learn how, because there's still a mollusk chilling in that sword.
Yeah.
We have that bonus member that I want to know more about. I want it to be more prominent.
Yeah, I want to say in one of the episodes they had mentioned something about it developing or something like that and it getting stronger, which that's a cool idea. I mean, it's to me, like I mentioned the other day that when I played my only game of D&D proper, I wanted to capture and tame a dire wolf, and I was told you can't do that. And I love the idea that this guy essentially did that with a mollusk sword.
Yeah.
And that it's bonding with him. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I hope that's building up to something really cool. Like at a battle, that mollusk is going to come out like... But I'm actually very interested in the story part of who's running the dungeon and why it's being done. So it's giving me the Garosi from One Piece vibes.
I have no idea what that reference is.
That's okay. It's the big powerful people above, basically. Okay. And I feel like in this dungeon there's just something else that we don't know yet in terms of why it's being handled this way. Like, are they looking for the most powerful adventurers? Are they looking to actually crown somebody to be in charge and forever imprisoned down there as in charge? Is this a power thing? Is it mostly elves in charge and this is just their form of like supremacy? There's like so many questions I have in terms of why the dungeon is being run the way it is. I also want to see like actual like behind the scenes of the dungeon, because they have like the monsters that come and replace everything so quickly.
That's such a nice touch. To me, that's like when you're playing one of those old video games and you walk out of the room and walk back in and everything's been rebuilt.
Yeah,
it's giving an explanation for that. I'm like, oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I wanted to see it happen so I can see like I just love the whole aspect of running of this dungeon.
Here's what fascinates me about that part. This is definitely a very complex dungeon.
Yeah.
But nobody's really surprised that there is a whole floor of the dungeon that's a city. You know?
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder, are other dungeons like this? I mean, this is definitely a weird one. That's what we're being told. It's a different dungeon.
Yeah.
But like, are there other dungeons where like, well, we're on the 5th floor, that means blizzard. I'm like, is that like a thing that happens?
Yeah, because like in all the dungeons I've played in, they've all been different.
But the
I've
whole
had
dungeon has a theme usually, not like a floor.
Yeah,
has a
exactly.
theme.
Yeah, it's on a floor. That's why I'm like, it's basically like a dungeon fun house. That's what I've been like calling it. And that's why I'm wondering, what is the plan here? What are we trying to do? And the fact that like certain things do reset, some rooms may not be the same. What's the dungeon master got in mind? Like what's going on? I'm also, because the city was introduced, I actually did wonder that as well, because there is a city in the dungeon. Does the city know that they're all, like everyone in the city, do they all know that they're part of a dungeon? Is it connected to another dungeon?
Well, the
Is it a
city only has
teleporting
like ghosts in it now, right?
I thought
But
there was another race occupying it.
well, there were orcs in there
Yeah.
too. But what I'm saying is that like when this was a functional castle, was that where the city was? Was it on, you know?
How did the city come to be? Why did it fall? Why are the orcs still comfortable there, even though it's technically a prison for them?
Well, for the orcs, that's another. We're talking about the indigeneity. They're definitely indigenous coded in the sense that they were pushed off their land and are constantly being hunted, where people get rewards for getting their pelts and stuff. Where they're like, yes, they attack every tall man they see, but it's not because they just hate tall men. It's because you attack us first every time you see us.
Very
You
true.
know? So I'm like,
Very
there's a lot.
Which sucks because the orcs are so sweet.
They really are.
I like the orcs. I thought
and again,
they were
talk
really,
about
really
different
nice.
body types. They don't all look the same.
Yes.
They all look like the same species, but they don't all look the same.
I do. I love that there were so many different body types in this show. It was realistic in terms of what an adventuring party would actually look like. Not just with like the race, but with the physicalities of every single one. I saw strong buff women. I saw scrawny men. I'm like, hell yeah, work.
There were chubby people, you know?
Yeah.
Skinny people. It worked out.
Yeah. And different colors, different everything.
Oh, shades,
I liked it.
The orcs all came in different shades. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
What was it? I was talking about how I liked reincarnated as slime, but I want to say that a lot of the orcs were like, the men are goofy looking and the women are attractive, and we're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate that variety. I don't know that this series would be as influential as I would want it to be, but I want it to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a very, like, I hadn't watched a new anime series in quite some time, and I'm glad this is the one that's pulling me back into it and actually making me want to get back into manga as well again, because the storytelling is just so great. I've loved the art so far. I love the story within a story aspects coming in. And just
I appreciate
really
that the world building is a story unto itself.
Yes. And it's different. It's constantly different. So you're not going to get like the same exact thing, even if we go back in and do it again. So that's always just a fun, like, Russian roulette of the adventure, honestly. And it keeps a story. I love a story that is unpredictable. Like, everything I've been like, oh, this is going to happen. I'm wrong. I've been very wrong. So, and I love that. I love when stories do that. And I can't predict it. I can't wait to see what the future episodes bring.
You know what's really weird? You talk about what I would want to see in the series. We had that episode or two where Shuro's group was with Laios's group. And at first I was like, this is way too many people. Then I paused for a little bit and I was like, I kind of want it to stay this big. Because, like, imagine like different pairs of people like teaming up for a mission and get that interaction and stuff. I kind of want this to be a 20-person party at this point, because there's also fascinating.
I was kind of rooting for that when they were all together there. I'm like, oh, please just stick together. Please. And I understand why they're going to
like logistically it makes no sense, but like it would be so much fun.
Just conga line into the boss level. Like, let's go.
Well, no,
I thought it was really cool when they were all together and just talking about like their different backgrounds and stuff. I was like, God, just stay together just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. Like, y'all can heal each other, right? Like, you know
what's funny to me is like people are like, oh, I ship these two characters. I ship these parties.
Yeah. I do.
Like, I want them to be the true pairing. Stay together.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I hope we get to meet them again down the road, because I feel like they each have this like bond in order to defend each other's kind of honor in a way at this point because they understand the situations. And I'm like, God, I feel, yeah, I do agree. I agree that they should all just work together for sure. But that also brings me to hoping to see other parties as well that are just as great. And who knows, maybe it's going to be all adventuring parties seeking out the same thing, taking out the big bad. Who knows? It's going to be 1,000 against 1.
You know, you mentioned that party that kept dying over and over again. And I was actually kind of fascinated by like, you know, like, oh, they didn't know the coins were actually beetles. And I'm like, is that a thing? Are there other, like, does that exist in Dungeons and Dragons? The coins are beetles?
So,
I've never heard that before.
That one, I had it. I was actually looking it up while the episode was going because I'm like, what? I want to use this. And I couldn't find anything on the spot. But that was very...
It's going to be in your game now.
I'll bet. Yeah. No, I thought it was a really cool tactic. And did they tell them? They didn't tell them.
They never told them. And
no,
I'm a little bit disappointed that.
Me too.
I'm a little bit disappointed that the other team just kind of like begrudgingly seemed to not want to kill them without finding out. Because I wanted there to be either like find out and deal with it or have a bigger reason not to want to kill them. And they're just like, they're not so horrible. We're still going to kill them, but later
I was kind of hoping like Senshi would bust out if there were some leftover ones. Like, here they are. Eat up.
These are the things that almost killed you, but now you can eat them.
And they didn't do that. Excuse me.
That would have been
They never did that. Yeah. I thought that's what was going to happen, honestly, when they brought up the bugs. But no, it wasn't brought up again or confessed to.
I will say there's
really cool monster.
Yeah. There's one thing logistically that's been a little bit troubling. Now, for Shuro's party and the gnome party, they were able to teleport back to where they left off. But like for the other party, like if they kept dying, how did they end up farther ahead of them every time? Like how did that like it was just odd to me that they kept like
I've been trying to like as we watch the show kind of map out what I think the dungeon is like, but then they keep saying rooms reset, so I'm like, what's the point of that, I guess? Because things might get flipped around and in order. Because the frog room didn't happen on their way back again, despite her getting prepped.
Yeah. And then there was one room I remember them specifically saying, "This is the same room we were in earlier. Look, here's our stuff, but everything's very different now. Dang it!" And I'm like,
"Yeah, that's why I'm like, oh, I couldn't map this out, but it could change in 1 hour." And
although I do appreciate when they're like, "Here's the place where we died. Here's our stuff," and I'm like, I mean, I played that in video games all the time.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Yeah, pick up your mercantile. Yeah.
I also appreciate, speaking of which, I appreciate the idea that when you die, have money on you to pay off the person who revives you.
Yeah.
Which assumes that they're not just going to rob your corpse, which fair.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
guess that's part of the gamble. Yeah. I think that's cool. That system as well, and how like it eventually like got corrupt in some parts. How it just became like a farming thing.
It was like Burke and Hare there going around getting bodies.
Yeah. It was just like, God, what this dungeon, man. It's crazy. And I can't wait to see what becomes of Fallon. I have no idea what the fuck is going on with Fallon.
Yeah, we get to our really big spoilers.
The
throughout all the monsters here are either, well, except for the coins maybe, have a definite basis in either mythology or specifically Dungeons and Dragons type games. And she is a dragon bird naked woman. And at first I thought she was like a cockatrix or something, but no, those also exist. So I'm not really sure what she is, but it's fascinating. Yeah,
because like when she was revived, she of course has dragon in her, so that's part of the dragon. There were other creatures that were near her as well. I don't know if those became part of her as well.
Well, where did the feathers come from, though?
That's what I'm wondering. What, like, because
harpies showed up later, but I don't think there were harpies at that moment.
It's a reference to like the basilisk that was killed.
Yeah, but
or the meal that she had. That's what I thought. I couldn't think of like where that would have come from unless it has something to do with the dark magic, and maybe if it had. Like, because we don't know, this wasn't the first time Marcille's like done dark magic before. We don't know if there's any connection to all dark magic spells into one big string of.
Well, she has said that it's never done this before, so it seems to be like that's the mad mage manipulating her spell. But still, it's just.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was rooting for Fallon because she seems like a really, really great character. but now it just seems like she is the prisoner of something really, really bad and dark, and it's not fun.
What's interesting about her character is
Mm-hmm.
when she first joined the group, and also when the flashbacks before that, I was like, uh-oh, she's too perfect of a character. Like
Right.
she's loving and nice and calm and knows what to do and has the plan. I was hoping she was going to join the group permanently from here on out, but that's not going to happen, is it? And then like literally an episode later, and I was like, oh.
No, like as soon as they revived her, I was like, this is too good to be true, isn't it? This is I don't trust the situation.
Again, I thought it was going to be the season ending spoiler cliffhanger, I mean.
Yeah.
But
nope. No, as soon as she ran out that window, I'm like, well, I was wrong. Here we go.
I do appreciate her brother kind of inheriting her ability to talk to ghosts, but being convinced that he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
And since everybody always thinks he's dumb anyway, he just chooses not to say anything about it.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, you could just tell everyone what's going on, but that's okay. Because now it's like Marcel thinks that it's like a rebound of him using magic. And it's like, no.
To me, this is the same thing that happened with his sword, where the sword was telling him where to go, and he wouldn't tell people how he knew. And now he's like, we should go this way. Why? I think we should, but it's the ghost this time, you know?
Yeah. And then Chill Chuck's like, don't lie to us anymore. And then there he goes. Little poo brain.
I want to touch base on monster biology for a second.
Yeah.
I mentioned already how much I love the mollusk idea. The other thing I've really loved is the golems. Specifically because golems in mythology are tied obviously to Jewish mythology, but also have a very specific. There's like letters written on it, and that you can change that as the meaning. But in this case, it's a little ironically cross-shaped, fetish. But what I think was really neat is he's like, well, yeah, it's a mobile garden. What? It just is. And I'm like, damn, that works. I mean, it's slow moving. You know, it's going to stay in one more or less territory. And it's definitely got life in it. So it's going to keep the things growing. And I'm like, damn, I really like this idea.
Yeah.
And then with you saw the ice episode, right?
I
think you said that's the last one you saw where they were fought like an ice golem. Literally, the name of the episode is Ice Golem.
Yes, I've seen every episode except the one released today.
Okay, so they did the ice golem, and apparently, like there's a blinker you missed scene explaining why there's an ice golem, and it's literally that Senshi was tending his garden and accidentally dropped one down a drain, and it went down a cold drain.
Oh, I missed that.
Because they're like, how is there an ice golem here? And he's like, and a little flashback. he doesn't say anything, but like there's a little flashback.
My bad. I know why it's there. Yeah.
And I'm like, but that's pretty cool though. Like he's been tending to his garden, and one of them just fell apart. I was like, oops.
Aww.
Yeah. It says the name of the episode, Ice Golem. Which I realize now that I think about it, the episodes seem like they're named after the creatures, which is neat.
Yeah.
Well,
that's true.
You know what? Almost. I take it back. One episode is called episode 14, so maybe this is just how they're listed on Google.
Episode 14 was the enemy.
Yeah, they must not. They must not be. They may not be translated names. That being said, I'm reminded of the Shapeshifter episode. That was the one episode I felt seemed out of place. Like because you know how anime a lot of times will have a filler episode just to kind of pad it out.
Yeah.
It was a good episode. Don't get me wrong. I really loved the idea that shapeshifters base themselves on what you think other people look like.
Yeah.
Which, that's so clever.
That was funny.
So clever. And the fact that everybody immediately just clocks Laios's shapeshifters. Like he doesn't understand people, so they're all over here.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring it up is that was the one episode where they didn't focus on eating anything. And that's why it felt out of place. And when you finally see what was leading the shapeshifter, I was very surprised that it was a fox with 9 tails, which is a massive thing in Asian mythology, East Asian mythology.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, we're just going to kill it. And I was like,
I know.
I thought it was going to talk to you or something, like it needed help, or I don't know. And then all right, they didn't eat it. But then like an episode or two later, I don't know if it was Ice Golem or the Hag, but one of the episodes, Senshi's talking about the ingredients, and he goes, parts of the shapeshifter. And I was like, they cut up the fox, I guess.
Oh, I didn't catch it. Yeah, because that did seem kind of like a big throwaway. I feel like it could have been like an answer to a puzzle, answer to a room.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was kind of just like,
I thought they were going to find baby foxes in the next room, that it was guarding or something. I was 100% convinced that was what was going to happen. So that's the only one where we didn't really get a, National Geographic, examination of the animal.
Yeah.
It was more of just a psychological episode, which is good. But I really wanted more of that world building. And then again, to it, like, I don't know if it was 19 or 20, but one of the other episodes, essentially just offhandedly says, and bits of shapeshifter. And I'm like, so he's just keeping fox meat in his back. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I want to know what his storage system is like, because some of the things that
really
he's hauling, like some of the things he's hauling around, I'm like, how is that okay?
Does he have a bag of holding? Is he like Link, where he's got the Giant's wallet? You know,
the bag of the igloo bag of holding.
Yeah, because he'll make comments about how this is too much food for us to carry, but then like 5 episodes later, he's like, I still have some harpy egg left, and I'm just like, where?
I'm like, bro, you're making a hot pot right now. What do you mean you don't have enough room? I
only had room for this much rice, but I've got 5 eggs that are this big.
I mean, Senshi is one of the characters where we haven't seen anything really.
No, we don't get any backstory. We don't know why he chose to just live in the dungeon his whole life. Like, he's been here as long as we've known him, and even with his few flashbacks, it's just him living in the dungeon. So I'm like, he didn't have any friends. Like, he's such a nice guy. Where were his? Did he have friends? Did he have a family?
Yeah.
He cares about Chilchuck as being a child that needs taken care of, which is hilarious.
Yeah, take care of the kids.
Did he have a kid? You know, I want to know what the story is.
No, we don't know. But I feel
we're gonna
like
get the sad story of Harry Daddy.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna happen. I feel like we're gonna bawl our eyes out compared to all the other backstories.
That's true. And Chilchuck, you know, you said you don't know much about him. I feel like he should have a backstory too. We get a bit of it. I don't feel like it would be as complicated, but it would still be good to get more of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For all of the party, actually, I would love to hear more of their stories. Laos and Fallon, I feel like we've gotten
and Marcel, because she grew up
technically,
with
yeah. But I do want to know Marcel's connection to how she found out about dark magic, got into it, all that. But
I feel like she must have had a mentor of some sort.
Yeah.
Oh, we've even gotten Catgirl's backstory now that I think about it, because we got to see her interacting with some of her friends in a flashback. So that was neat.
Yeah. I like her. She's fun. I'm glad she stayed with the party.
She grew on me faster than I thought she was going to grow on me.
Same.
Because at first I was like, okay, Ninja's following them. Oh, Ninja's a cat girl. All right, okay. And then I was like, oh, she's just an angry person. That's great. We already got an angry person. But then I was like, okay, oh, this is okay. Then she grew on me.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like she evolved a little bit faster than Chilchuck, but whereas Chilchuck, definitely everything he does is for everybody's benefit. He doesn't want to admit it. She's just been like, I'm going to stop complaining out loud, but still it's there.
Yeah.
I saw, I think I forwarded you a YouTube video that talks about the biology of the characters. In that, I saw a bunch more different creatures and characters, and not knowing any context at the time, but now having more context. I'm definitely excited for where this is going. I'm excited for this to be a whole series. I'm really glad that we get it week to week, because it does make it so much easier for me to digest. I know I'm not. Some people are bingers. I'm not.
That's okay. No, it honestly, don't do it. Binging is not fun.
Oh, shoot,
I like enjoying it periodically.
New Doctor Who comes out tomorrow.
Ooh, I'm so behind on Doctor Who.
I've been skipping around. I missed like a couple of the Doctors in the middle, and I'm like, all right, I'll catch them back up again.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch them in order, but it's so long.
Well, I guess this kind of wraps up our discussion of Delicious in Dungeon. You know, we're definitely excited about it. We definitely want to do it. We should definitely play a game of Dungeons and Dragons after being so inspired by this at some point soon.
Yes, I want to.
But I also think, you know, we should also meet creators of things that we like. Like, for example, webtoon creators would be good.
Yes,
definitely do something.
Absolutely. I feel like we should.
Yes.
What do you think?
Hinting at things.
Things are happening.
But back onto other stuff in our lives. I mentioned Doctor Who. Are there any shows or anything else that you're really getting into right now?
What else are we watching?
I just finished X-Men 97, and I'm getting into the new Doctor Who, which just started. So those are both on my list.
We got caught up on Fallout, so I finished all of Fallout. My god. Have you not finished it?
I am still on 3 or 4.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Enjoy the ride. It's insane.
I'm enjoying it. I just haven't watched a lot. My partner and I are probably going to be watching it together. She said we're going to just, once she catches up to where I'm at, we're just going to try to watch the rest together. I think that works out.
Yeah. No, the end of the season. Mwah, it was so good.
I do have a Fallout question for you though. Not kind of a spoiler, but also not really. I saw a review or saw a headline of it that said these are the characters from Wizard of Oz, and I was like, watching it, I'm like, well, that's the Tin Man. This guy visually is a scarecrow.
Yeah,
he's definitely Dorothy. There's clearly Toto. So my question is there ever a cowardly lion?
Not.
That's a regular in the show, not just one episode off.
Not defined, because we went over this in the Fallout episode of who was who.
Yeah, but you've seen more.
Now,
so that's why.
Yeah, as of right now, there is potential for the Cowardly Lion being a certain character. But until I see the next season and know what his intentions are, I'll have to keep it still available.
I'm still convinced the scientist is the Wizard of Oz. I mean, down from him knowing everything to him only being in a part of the story and down to him being a head that you're not supposed to look behind. Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's so good. It made I gasped so many more times in the last couple episodes of it. So
it's like it's a 3 gasp episode worth watching.
Yeah. But no, I finished watching that. God, I watched John Wick for the first time. I'm obsessed.
Like the first episode, the first movie, or like all of them?
The first movie.
I have really only watched the last movie. That's the only John Wick movie I've seen. Yes, I know, it's very weird.
I love the story. I want to watch the rest of them. I thought it was so good.
I get a kick out of over the top silly action movies where it's like they know what they are and they have fun with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do this in the first movie, but I know that in the one I watched, they just have suits that are bulletproof. But I mean, not just like they're like movie magic bulletproof.
Yeah.
Where they don't even get any recoil. Just like lift up my jacket, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'm safe now. And I'm like, come on.
I guess they reach a level of camp later. The first one, I was just everyone's getting shot. Let's go. And it was actually like, I don't know. I got really fascinated with the whole like hitman business. Like, okay, y'all got this going on.
You know which movie I enjoyed and like no one else did?
What?
X versus Sever, which was, do you remember that? That's like 15 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
But it was Lucy Liu and I want to say Antonio Banderas of all people as spies fighting each other. And nobody, it didn't do well in the theater, and nobody really liked it. It was exactly what John Wick 4 was, in the sense that it was nonsense, is what it was.
Yeah.
And I just loved the heck out of it. Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu. And it was so silly and over the top that it actually inspired me to want to make a game like a Dungeons and Dragons tabletop game based around this idea of spy groups that are not tied to any particular country. They're just spy groups. You know what I mean? They're just like, you just have a secret spy group and another secret spy group, and they're not tied. It's not like, it's the Americans versus the Russians or whatever. No, they're just spy groups that operate just because they do. And I'm like, so I kind of wanted to have like a game where you could be recruited, but you don't know which agency is recruiting you. And it wouldn't be until like the end of the trial, they're like, okay, here's who we are. Do you want to join us? So because it was, again, it's a stupid movie, but I really enjoyed it. Plus there was a whole segment that was done first person perspective. So it was like, a video game. And actually, as I Googled it, a Game Boy Advance game of it popped up. So clearly,
oh man, I still have my Game Boy Advance.
I do too. I have I'm proud to say I have every Nintendo system ever made, or some version of it.
Nice.
I don't have every Game Boy, but I do have all of the major iterations.
Yeah.
And I also have a Virtual Boy that mostly works. But you've also got your streaming going with charity. How's that going so far?
Oh, well, it's over. It ended last week. We raised $2,000 for the JDRF. I could not be prouder.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm proud for you.
It was awesome. It was a fun week of gaming and crafting. I played We Love Katamari re-released on the Switch since playing it on the PS2. It's gorgeous. I love it. I forgot how much the townspeople roast you after you roll a Katamari. I didn't realize how vicious they were. I'm like, okay, I'm rebuilding your galaxy. Thank you. Could be fine. So that was fun. The Fortnite season's about to end. We're getting a new season tomorrow, actually.
So I've heard, which means
all new world.
Which is crazy because I will be doing my game on Saturday, which is going to be part of my charity event, Comics for a Cure, being organized by Comic Drake, the comic book YouTuber, who's a friend of mine. And it's funny to say that because there's a lot of people that be mutuals, but he and I have hung out a few times, and I do feel like we're friends. But not close, but just But anyway, but the point is, it's my first, footsteps into this whole world of charity streaming. So I like that. I'm also getting really excited for my Kickstarter, which now that school is done, I can complete. I've been so delayed with that. I know that my backers have been like, all right, when do we hear more? I give him a little bit. He's like, just trust me, it'll get there. Now
I post a comic a day asking where it is.
I know. No, actually, no. I'm surprised people haven't done that, honestly. But
I think we understand the process.
Yeah, but I specifically, originally I was going to put on there, have it done by May, and my partner's like, "Will you really?" I'm like, "Well, what if I put August? That feels more realistic." Because I intended to have it done by May, but I can definitely get it done the next few weeks. I have, however, got my stickers out. I'm excited about that. I've got stickers. I've got stickers. Oh my god! And then I'm going to get the cards and everything else, and so it's just a matter of finishing it up. It's coming along well now.
Yay.
That's the thing. It's like I feel like I'm jealous of John Avina. I could easily do 2 books a month if I wasn't running them, if I wasn't the one organizing it, if I wasn't the one putting it together. I cannot. I've said this before. I cannot give myself a deadline. If I have an editor and the editor's like, "We need it by August," I'll be like, "All right, I'll get it to you by August." But like if I said I'm going to do it by August, it's hard. I need.
It is.
As somebody was asking if I needed somebody to boss me around, like, no, it's not what I'm saying. I just need somebody to be organized because I'm not going to be organized.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of finishing up my comic book right now too, and I said I'm going to finish it by the end of May. And while it's not like totally unworked on, I'm definitely not finishing it by end of May. So
that's what summer's for.
But exactly, and so like I'm on the backgrounds part, so everything else is colored. So I feel like I'm closer to the finish line than the starting line now. But it's just like, I want someone to tell me when you need it. I also want to be able to quit my day job and have time. But it's a process, and it's a process, and we're doing it, and we're doing our best. And you have stickers.
And I have stickers. I am at least one step along the way. My hope was to have something physical by Comicpalooza, and the cards wouldn't get here in time, but these got here in time. In fact, they just arrived today. They were supposed to show up yesterday. Oh, it's actually really funny. I got a picture from what was it, FedEx or whatever it was that brought it in, and it's like, look, it's been delivered. They show you a picture of it at your door. Mine, the picture was clearly taken like this. I think that blur is my porch.
Yeah, it's like I can make.
It's like I took it. I'm gone now.
The essence of my brick. Okay.
That's the bush I haven't been trimming lately. Yeah. Okay. That's my house.
Love it.
Oh man. Well, with that, we have another My Primos podcast. Podcast listeners, we're going to be bringing on some guests soon, and obviously we want to do some gaming up soon, and also a lot of charities we've been individually supporting. But if you guys have a topic you'd really love us to dive into, let us know. Reach out to My Primos podcast via social media, via the website. You can go pester Elia Maria on one of her sites and just say, hey, we heard you're connected.
Yeah, if you know a Latina creator that you think would be fun for us to interview, name drop them. Tell us.
Yep.
I'm so down to annoy people with questions.
Comics, video games, movies, music. You know, I keep saying, I know I'm not as big of a music guy as the rest of you are, but like we should have musicians on here too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And Elia, how can people find you online?
Through the FBI.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I'm Spiced Illustrations on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Just Illustrations on Twitter because I couldn't have the extra 5 characters. So yeah, I'm there, just annoying everyone online.
And I can be found at @KevinGarcia_com at most places, TikTok and Instagram. I have recently reactivated a YouTube channel that I have not posted on in 20 years. And there's nothing on it yet. I've got 3 followers and one of them is Comic Drake. So there we go.
Nice.
But the plan is I'm going to be reposting a lot of my TikTok content on there because TikTok has been very weird with me lately. I don't know what's happening. Basically, every video I post, they say is suspected of being unoriginal content, which is their code way of saying, we think you stole this, but we can't prove it. And I'm like, but it's me. And I'm talking about me. What the heck?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. So there's that. And of course, you can find My Primos Podcast at myprimospodcast.com and at My Primos Podcast on all of the important social medias.
Yes.
And with that, we thank you, Primos. We thank you, Primos. We thank you, Primas. We say that whoever you are and wherever you are, there you are. Sorry, I said that last time and it threw Freddie off, and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "I thought that's what you were doing. That was a bit. Wherever you are, there you know.
We're all here. We're all there.
We're all Primos.
We're all Primos, no matter who you are, where you're from.
And with that, we out.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's My Primos podcast. This episode is hosted by Elia Maria Madrid. Check her out at Spiced Illustration all over social media, including Twitch and YouTube. Also by Mr. KevinGarcia.com, KevinGarcia_com. Check out his work, all his interviews, all his panel discussions on all social media at KevinGarcia_com. And of course, thanks goes out to Crisia Regalado, the prima that provided the music for the episodes here this season. Check out her music at Team Color Music. An amazing record you can find on any streaming platform and of course YouTube. And Primos, thanks to you and everybody listening. We appreciate every single one of you. Until next time.